Head out to the phone lines now. Shift gears from football to baseball. Jay Johnson, head coach of the Fighting Tiger baseball program, joins us. Coach, we appreciate some time. How are you?
Doing great. How are you guys doing?
Doing very good. Paint the picture here. Night one of the draft, guys that get called that night, that's not really an issue. Those guys are going to be signing for a lot of money, which Jacob Berry already did. I want the picture of what you were like as the draft was going on day 2 and 3. Are we watching on the computer? Or are we constantly texting on the phone? What is that experience like?
Yeah, it was pretty full scale this year. A lot of different things going on. Actually went out to Arizona to watch it and celebrate with Jacob and his family. He certainly did a lot for me and two programs personally, and helping us get to get to Omaha, Arizona in 2021, and then followed me to LSU. And it's kind of hard to imagine our team last year if he would not have been on our team. And had a great year, hit 400 in the SEC. So, to be the first college player taken, to kind of put that in perspective, it's very similar to, Joe Burrow being the number 1 pick a couple years ago. So it's a tremendous accomplishment. So I was really excited to celebrate that with him. That first night, nothing that happened was really unexpected. I did have a phone call with Cade Doughty as the second round was kind of dwindling away of possibilities of returning, and I did let him know he'd be welcome back with open arms. But I did feel like 12 picks was an eternity when you're talking about a player as quality as Cade, and glad that he got something that he was happy about, and he's ready to start his pro career. So certainly pleased for Cade. And then it kind of turned into get on the phone with what I called the 50-50 group of about 5 guys in our recruiting class, making sure that we touch base with them. We were able to keep 4 of those 5 guys, so we felt great about that, and really all 4 of them, fulfilling positions of need. We did lose a couple guys in the transfer portal, but yeah, it was a wild couple days. I basically locked myself in a conference room in Arizona with both my phones and made sure we could adjust accordingly. And happy for our players that got selected, and was certainly paying attention to what the roster construction looks like for next year.
When you talk about some of the guys that y'all were able to get onto campus from the signing class, can you speak to the catcher position in this class? Because it looks like there are 3 of them that can really play.
Yeah, big point of need, obviously. I do have great confidence in Hayden Travinsky and Alex Milazzo. I think they both bring skills to the table that can help our team win this year. But, it's an old Sparky Anderson thought, if you have a bad catcher, you have a bad team. And so to add 3 guys of the quality of Brady Neal, Jared Jones, and Ethan Frey that can all catch really gives me a positive outlook on that position for years to come in our program. And that can't be emphasized enough. I think all 3 are good enough to make a positive contribution immediately and then move themselves into the point where you're talking about them like we just talked about Jacob and Cade. So that really worked out about as good as I could have hoped for. It was a little uncertain going into it. You mentioned with all 3 of those high school guys, all 3 of them could have been drafted and signed. We actually had a contingency plan if that had happened, where we were on the phone with a couple transfers and basically said, we'll let you know after this, and was very happy to not follow up and say, we need to bring in another catcher. So I'm happy with the guys we have returning, and certainly happy with those new guys we have coming in.
As far as high school arms go, arms from everywhere, really, really impressive haul, and guys that I personally expected to be drafted far earlier than they were, or some were not. But specifically Chase Shores and Jaden Newt, for me, were guys that I thought would be long shot to get to campus. Were you surprised at all that those guys did not have their names called early on day 1 or 2?
Yeah, honestly, those were 2 of the 5 50-50 guys that I was talking about. But to be honest with you, I was probably thinking more 70-30 that somebody would draft them on night 1 and do everything that they could to sign them for, upwards of $2 million or more. I'm proud of both of them, very proud of their families. They both believe in themselves and their ability. And whatever you want to call it, stuck to their guns, held their number, held their ground. And then, teams decided there was a little something in them that needs to be improved before they were going to make that type of investment. So we're certainly looking forward to that being at LSU and under, our new pitching coach, Wes Johnson, and playing for a team that we think can support them well and help them increase their value for the next time they go into the draft.
Do we have to kind of recalibrate the way we look at the draft? I mean, there at a time, if you were an 18-year-old who was 6'4 plus, in Shore's case, 6'8", and we're throwing upwards of 95 miles an hour, like that's a first or second round pick, slam dunk as of 10 years ago. And now are there just more of those guys?
Yeah, I think it's just the evolution of players, evolution of bodies, young male bodies are bigger, stronger, faster, move better. There's a lot better, coaching and education now to where the developmental tools that Major League Baseball uses for, guys at the highest level. I mean, players of these guys' caliber have access to it and can really put themselves in a good position, going into the draft. But there are more of those guys, and so there's bigger competition. And what we tried to do, and literally this has been since we signed class in November, has been educating them about it's one thing to receive a large signing bonus. It's another thing to be ready to be a professional baseball player and start making your way to the major leagues. And you do not want to embark on that until you're ready. And when you look at Chase and Jada, they are tremendously talented. They both definitely have things that they can do to improve, and we're really excited that they're going to do that here at LSU.
Chatting with Jay Johnson, LSU head baseball coach, for a couple of more minutes. I personally, even though I cover this, have lost track of who has what eligibility left or what the rules are in terms of how many guys you can have on the roster. I think it's 35 plus 5 if they're COVID impact guys. Are you heavy in that, and what's the fall going to be like in terms of numbers?
Yeah, good question. I think we're actually in a much better situation than we were going into last year. It's a lot more manageable. There's a few kind of buckets or pockets of players when you're looking at it. We have some guys that have some injuries that we are not sure whether they're going to be able to compete in 2023, so they may factor into it. We have some of the freshman class that we talked about. There may be a potential that they would redshirt. So when you start peeling back a couple of those things, you never know. You get through the fall and, somebody doesn't fit the way maybe that they thought. I actually feel like we're in a really good spot. And it didn't seem like that because there were so many balls in the air. But when you started looking, into last fall, and some of the guys that we signed were really elevating themselves from a pro thing, like a Mikey Romero going in the first round, Justin Crawford going in the first round. I mean, 6 guys in your class are gone, and then 2 guys in the Porto class sign. Like, that number goes down significantly. And then there were players on our team that, didn't feel like, they were going to be able to push themselves into the role that they wanted on the team. Let's say the starting lineup or starting rotation, chose to go to other programs to help meet their individual needs. It kind of all came together pretty nicely where we're pretty close to where we need to be.
There are some guys that I guess you were planning on having in Baton Rouge that were drafted and have until August 1st to sign. What's your communication like with Brady and Jaden, with Carter Young, about what the next week and a half holds?
Well, they're all here in town right now, so that's a really good thing. So we get to communicate with them frequently. I was here late last night, and Jaden was here working out. I was here at noon yesterday. Brady was in the cages hitting. Carter Young's here today doing some things, getting some of his academics in order. So all of their movements suggest that we should feel pretty good about them coming. I've been down this road enough times to know that you can be surprised. But I feel good at this juncture where we're at with those 3 players.
You mentioned injuries earlier, so I'll ask about a couple. Javen Coleman and Thatcher Hurd, any update on kind of what the future holds for those guys? I know that they were injured this past year.
Yeah, Javen Coleman is working hard, progressing well. There's a lot of thoughts on that Tommy John surgery, and he had a full elbow reconstruction. And for me, in my experience, like 18 months is kind of the point where you're back to yourself. Well, that obviously would take him out of the mix for next year. There are some, advancements in rehab where that's been sped up a little bit. But, you look at Eric Razelman, who was one of our best guys this year. I mean, he tried to come back too quickly last spring when he was at the University of San Francisco. Did not work out. And then he had that extra 12 months going into this year, and he was a completely different pitcher. So we're going to do what's best for Javen in that arena or category. Then Thatcher Hurd progressing nicely. Has very good medical attention for what he's doing, has a very good plan for rehab, and is throwing and starting to increase distances and moving weight in the weight room. So really excited about where he's at in his progression.
I know he's really, really busy. We appreciate some time, Jay. Thanks so much.
All right, guys. Have a good day.
Thanks so much for watching Hunt and Hill on YouTube.
Now do us a favor. Hit the red subscribe button below and throw us a like. See you next time.